Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. We take your source material, we strip away the jargon, and we give you the knowledge you need fast. Today, we are doing a pretty critical deep dive into some recent, really significant updates from the Pi network.
Yeah, these are big ones. They're all about their decentralized exchange, the DAX, and the mechanics behind their automated market maker, or AMM, liquidity pools.
That's right. And we've got a stack of documents here detailing what looks like a major overhaul.
And it's not an arbitrary one.
Yeah.
This was all implemented specifically after they watched how their community was using these tools on the testnet.
Ah, so this is feedback driven.
Completely. The feedback basically showed they needed to dramatically improve usability and, maybe more importantly, the clarity of how DeFi actually functions in their ecosystem.
And the mission behind all of this seems remarkably focused. The documents lay out 3 core goals.
They do. First is aligning tokens with, real utility creation.
Right.
A token has to stand for something tangible. Second, increasing the practical use of Pi itself. And third, making the whole DIX and AMM experience, well, just far more transparent and user-friendly.
If you boil it all down, it sounds like they're trying to safely onboard millions of people to some pretty advanced financial tools.
That's the core of it. Improve financial literacy, but do it in a safe environment using TestPi. It's about reducing friction, for sure, but it's also about building in mechanisms that give you clearer signals about which projects are trustworthy.
That makes sense. I mean, if you're building an economy from the ground up, you have to prioritize trust and accessibility.
You have to.
Which I think brings us right to the first major change, the interface itself.
Yeah, they mentioned general improvements to the UI, the organization, all designed to make it simpler to navigate and understand. But that's really just scratching the surface.
So what's the deeper change?
The really strategic shift is in the structure of the liquidity pools themselves. Our sources show that liquidity on the testnet DX is now explicitly organized around Pi-denominated pairs.
Okay, so Pi becomes the common base for all trading, the Pi-centric DX.
Exactly. Pi is the common denominator across the entire exchange.
And choosing Pi, being the most liquid asset in their universe, that mirrors best practices we see everywhere else. Ethereum, Solana, they all use their native asset as the primary pair.
It's a proven model.
But here's my question, my challenge to that. If you concentrate all trading through Pi, aren't you also concentrating all the systemic risk onto Pi itself?
That's a very sharp question. And yes, it is a trade-off. There's no doubt about it.
So what's the upside?
The immediate benefit, especially in an ecosystem that's still growing, is clarity and efficiency. Think about it. If token A and token B both have Pi-denominated trading pairs,
then you can price them both against Pi instantly.
Instantly. You can determine the value of A and B in relation to something everyone already understands, which is the value of Pi. It simplifies the whole price discovery process.
So instead of needing a direct, maybe very shallow A to B pool, you just calculate their relative price through the A to Pi pool and the B to Pi pool.
Precisely. It streamlines the whole thing. The average user doesn't have to go hunting for some obscure, illiquid pair. They just see the value relative to that common base.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. This pivot to Pi-centric pairing, it's not just a UI cleanup. This fundamentally changes the market mechanics.
It does.
The source material really emphasizes that by forcing this structure, they are concentrating liquidity around Pi. So you have fewer but much deeper pools.
Instead of fragmenting it across dozens of thin, shallow ones.
Yes. And that concentrated liquidity, that's the engine that's supposed to improve the whole trading experience.
That's the crucial takeaway. It doesn't magically create new capital, of course.
Yeah.
But it makes the capital that's already there much more effective, more robust.
And the documents, they actually spell out 4 key benefits that users should feel from this. I think we need to spend a moment on these.
Absolutely. Let's start with the first 2. First, you get lower price volatility for all the other tokens on the DX.
Because the pool is deeper.
Right. When a liquidity pool is deep, one individual trade, even a pretty large one, is just a smaller drop in a much bigger bucket. It has less impact on moving the price.
So more stability, more predictability. That leads into the second point, reduced slippage, which is a term we should probably define quickly.
Definitely. Slippage is just the difference between the price you expect to get for a trade and the price you actually get when it executes.
Which can be a nasty surprise in a thin market.
A very nasty surprise. So deeper, concentrated liquidity means reduced slippage. Your trades are just more predictable. You get the price you thought you were going to get.
And that's essential if you want real businesses to use these tools. The third benefit, that one gets into security.
Correct. The third benefit is greater resistance to manipulation.
How so?
Because the capital is so concentrated, the cost for a bad actor to try and, manipulate the market to buy up a ton of tokens just to pump the price,
Yeah.
it goes way up.
It raises the barrier to entry for manipulators.
Substantially.
Mm.
And that flows right into the fourth point. More reliable price discovery.
It all connects. If you have deep pools that resist manipulation, the price that emerges is just going to be a truer reflection of the token's actual value.
It's a cascading set of benefits. They're testing a system that encourages genuine stable trading. But, and we have to keep stressing this,
It's an experiment.
it's all an experiment on the testnet. This is a living laboratory. Things could change based on how people actually use it.
That brings us from market mechanics to market trust, because none of this matters if you don't trust the assets you're trading. Before this update, a token was just tied to a blockchain address, a long string of letters and numbers. For a normal person, how are you supposed to evaluate that? It's impossible.
That opacity was a huge vulnerability. And the solution they've introduced is, I think, quite elegant. It's called domain verification.
A new trust indicator.
A new, accessible, human-readable trust indicator. Now, every single token in the DIX and AMM has to be linked to a verified web domain.
And it goes both ways.
It's a two-way street. The domain also have to link back to the token's information.
So if I see a token for, I don't know, awesome widgets, I can see it's linked to awesome-widgets.com, and I know the person who issued the token also controls that website.
Exactly. It's a clear signal that the token issuer is genuinely associated with that project or business. It's not just some random address. It dramatically reduces the risk of impersonation.
But, and this is a big but, the source material puts a huge caveat here.
A massive one.
This domain verification, it helps with your assessment. It does not guarantee a token is trustworthy or safe.
That is so important to understand. The platform is giving you clearer signals, better tools for your own due diligence, but the responsibility for what you decide to trust, that is still 100% on you, the user.
So a verified domain means the issuer controls the website. It doesn't mean they have a good business plan.
Exactly. They're giving you the tools, but you still have to be the one to swing the hammer.
That idea of clearer signals extends right into the next big change, token rankings. They're shifting away from the traditional measure, market cap.
And instead, they're ranking tokens based on liquidity, measured in TestPy.
Which is a huge deal because market cap can be so easily manipulated.
Notoriously so. And the documents give a perfect example of how that works. We should probably walk through it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so imagine a developer creates, let's say, 1 billion tokens, but they hold back 99% of them. They just lock them away.
So only 1% is actually circulating in the market.
Just a tiny slice. Then they can artificially drive up the price of that tiny 1% with just a few engineered trades.
Right, because market cap is just price times circulating supply.
Exactly. And fully diluted market cap is price times the max supply, since the price is artificially pumped up based on that tiny fraction.
It makes the whole project look like it's worth billions of dollars, even though basically no real capital has been committed.
And one person controls almost the entire supply. It's a total illusion. The market cap ranking just shows a perceived value based on manipulated scarcity.
It's a blind spot for anyone looking for a real project.
It is. So this new liquidity-based ranking, it corrects for that. It measures how much real capital commitment actual TestPy is locked in that token's pool.
You can't fake it. To rise in the ranking, you have to attract real liquidity.
You have to put skin in the game. You can't just pump the price of a small supply.
So that creates a much higher hurdle for manipulation, doesn't it?
A significantly higher one. Yeah. I mean, liquidity manipulation is still technically possible, but you'd have to commit a huge visible amount of TestPy to do it. It's way more costly and difficult than a simple price inflation scheme.
It encourages genuine capital commitment, and these rankings update automatically.
In real time. As liquidity changes, the ranking changes. It keeps the signal fresh for users who are looking for robust, established pools.
Okay, so let's zoom out. Let's connect all these technical updates back to that core goal of utility. The recent holiday commerce event seems like a perfect real-world example.
It really is. That event was all about spotlighting ecosystem commerce. It was encouraging people to actually shop with Pi online or in person at local stores.
It's the practical application of the whole economy these DeFi tools are supposed to support.
And they were actively highlighting mainnet commerce apps, local merchants, inviting them to run promotions. The platform was basically facilitating visibility for these small businesses.
Let's think about one of those small businesses, maybe a local craft maker.
Okay.
So they accept Pi, and maybe they need to use the DX to trade some of that Pi for a utility token, something that helps them manage their supply chain within the ecosystem.
Or maybe they just want to put a little bit into a liquidity pool to earn some passive income.
And that's where all these updates we've been talking about suddenly become tangible, right? Because that craft maker doesn't have time to be a DeFi expert.
No, not at all. So, first, the domain verification protects them. They're looking for that supply chain token. They can instantly see if the issuer's domain is verified.
So they get some immediate reassurance it's not a fly-by-night operation.
Exactly. Then, when they open the DEX, they aren't looking at some manipulated market cap ranking,
They're looking at the liquidity ranking.
which tells them this token has real capital committed. The pool is deep and stable. And that means they're protected by reduced slippage.
Their trade executes at the price they expect, which is critical when you're managing business funds.
Absolutely critical.
So what does this all mean then? It means this whole technical overhaul, like Pi-centric pairs, domain verification, liquidity ranking, it's all being refined right now on the testnet.
To better support exactly this kind of real, predictable, safe commerce that we saw in the holiday event.
The system is being tightened up.
Yeah, to create efficient markets, to onboard users safely, and to educate them, all while making the platform more efficient for the small businesses that are trying to build on it.
All strong foundational updates. They really seem to prioritize the user's safety and predictability.
Which is where you have to start.
Okay, so let's connect this to the bigger picture. We know all these advanced mechanisms for trust and ranking. They're being tested right now with TestPi, an asset with no real-world monetary weight.
Right, to sandbox.
So what happens? What new challenges or maybe new opportunities emerge when real, tangible mainnet Pi, representing the real commerce we saw in that holiday event, becomes the asset driving these pools?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
When the consequences of slippage or manipulation directly impact real small businesses, real transaction costs, real savings, that's when the resilience of these models will be truly tested.
Yeah, tested against actual human behavior and real-world economics. It's a fascinating future to watch unfold.
Absolutely. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.